Ooh, it burns.
Hey everyone, Jester Borris here with I Want to Be a GM, joined today by
It's Troy, the Planescape Guy, and we have a great show in store for you today.
100% of the time, all the time. This is Through the Multiverse, Gurps and Savage Worlds. These are cool world systems, game systems that will accept any world setting, and they have a myriad of their own. But Troy, more importantly,
The thing I like about both of them is that they encourage the game master to not just build the games and the stories that his players will run through, but the world that they do everything in. They give you a lot of basic how to make this instructions and a lot of help with some of the different books that they have with their systems. But they strongly encourage the game master to build their own, which I like, and I know a lot of other players out there. That's the biggest reason, especially Savage Worlds. Everybody we know that plays Savage Worlds, that's what they love about it.
shout out to our friend of the program, Quinn. So
Miss you.
Indeed. Now, these systems are not the same. They're not even necessarily grown out of each other. They are different systems. GURPS, for example, tends to focus on a little bit more realism or technical aspects, where the tagline for Fast and Fun, I think Furious is the other one.
Fast and Fun.
I don't know. Fast, Furious, Fun is Savage Worlds.
Yes.
They have much more cinematic action, bigger and more explosive characters. It's very cool. That means for you as a player or as a game master, you'll have the option when choosing which system you'd like to delve into, how you want to pursue that. And do I want something that's a little bit more technical, something that's going to have a bit more structure to it? So when I hang my meat on those bones, as it were, the story elements, my theme, I'm going to have more to go on from a number standpoint. Or do I want something that's going to be a little bit more epic and allow me that latitude? Savage Worlds is probably the better choice.
I don't know. I really like GURPS. There's a lot of back and forth. I mean, both these settings and all their supporting materials are both great. And I like how they're both great in their own way, and they're completely separate and very different from each other. And you'll find players that love one and not so much the other.
Or maybe have never seen it. But we're going to dive a little bit into it. I'm going to start with GURPS. GURPS is the older of the two systems.
Hey now.
And GURPS is in its 4th edition.
It is. That came out, what was it, over 10 years ago? The 4th edition.
2004 for the 4th edition.
Yeah.
So that gives you a bit of an idea there. I'll get...
So GURPS, GURPS, is an acronym. It stands for Generic Universal Role-Playing System. It's a tabletop game system first published in 1985.
Lies.
So it has been around a while. GURPS won a Origins Award for Best Role-Playing Rules in 1988. And there are other awards that they've won since then in different places around the world. It goes on and on. Yes, I have an extensive internet report that I made at great peril to myself about GURPS. They have many different settings, such as Star Frontiers, Gamma World, which is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, I said it. Top Secret, Gangbusters, which is about the Roaring Twenties. Boot Hill is about the American Old West. Hero System, which is superheroes, yeah. And basic role-playing. Chasm and the hero systems are expanded they have all kinds of them. So, they have every kind of ones that you want. And I have a stack over here to show off. I brought today for show and tell.
Well, let's go ahead and take out a look at some of those. So what we got here, this is of course the cooler.
This is,
why can't we talk today?
I don't know.
Man, we have had too much soda or something.
That's the
but this
basic
is the core rulebook, published by Steve Jackson Games. You may know them. They have the Munchkin series.
Yes.
And so if you guys have played any of the Munchkin games, they are hilarious. Steve Jackson Games also publishes the GURPS system.
Yeah. This is the 3rd edition.
Yeah, this
I have a couple of them. Yeah. I just haven't. I have other books. I chose to buy other stuff instead of the new.
I bought other stuff.
I bought other stuff. Cyberpunk. GURPS has their own Cyberpunk.
Yeah, so I run the new Cyberpunk Red. It's been a really good system. I like that. But if you've got GURPS, you could have ran your Cyberpunk Adventures. This is actually where I was first introduced to the genre of Cyberpunk, was here in GURPS.
So here we have, this is called the Marches. it's about dreams and astral and ethereal and all that kind of crazy stuff.
So you're like your superstitious, your sci-fi, your psychic.
Yeah. And here's another superstitious, voodoo.
Just a little bit.
And okay, the rest of them I have are magic items.
So let me see here. This was not the one.
I got another one.
More
cliffhangers. This one is more or less how to teach game masters how to write their stories. So a cliffhanger story is one at the end of the night. Everybody's left in a very perilous position. So it's like the old serial TV. You don't know what's going to happen because the good guy, the hero, got left in a position where he's about to get killed by the bad guy. And so tune in next week to see how he fixes that situation. Cliffhangers are about that. How to write stories to make your players want to keep coming back. And that's always fun. You ready for some more?
Yeah, bring up some more here, Troy.
So, I started buying a lot of Gurps when I was running Planescape a lot a few years back because I had a lot of very experienced players at my table. I had 4 other DMs at my table. So trying to keep the story very engaging and very exciting for the guys that had that level of experience was very difficult until I came across some of Gurps stuff, Gurps magic. So here we have spells, and these are spells that are not found in your normal D&D book. They're variations of some of them, but then they have others that are completely different.
And to the point here, this was the fantasy setting that was popularized with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So Gurps had, of course, their own fantasy setting, and that's where we found all this information.
Yes. So then we start with magic items. So these are magic items: rings, wands, staves, cloaks, rugs, you name it, all kinds of stuff. But since it's from a Gurps world, the magic is a little different, and there's stuff in there that is not in the D&D books. So when you are playing in Planescape, as an example, my thought was, you're out there, you're planes away from home, and the people you run into there are not going to have magic that you have back home in Faerun. They're going to have something different. So I started using stuff out of Gurps magic, and my players were held on every night. They just couldn't believe what people were using against them.
Troy, that's not how that works. That's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is. And let's see, how was it? Things outside of your knowledge or and experience or control make that where it doesn't work. I forget, something like that. Anyway, more magic items because we don't have enough magic items, and then some more magic items.
Always got to have those magic items. So this is one of the things that's neat about Gurps. That's a set of supplements from 2nd and 3rd edition Gurps for just their fantasy and magic side of things.
Yeah, and
so
they have this kind of volume of material for the other settings as well.
Right. So if you want to break into cyberpunk, you want to go primal and fight dinosaurs, you want to do noir, 1920s gangsters and detectives. All of that was out there, and they had tons of source books for it as well.
Unfortunately, there wasn't what I was into, so I didn't buy those. So I'm sorry I can't show them to you. But you can go out there and do internet searches and find examples of them. And what's the repost? The people that
make it?
No. The people that do the.
You're talking about Drive-Thru RPG.
Drive-Thru RPG. I can never remember them. Drive-Thru RPG does have some of that material available.
Yeah, and it's still in print. So
yes, it is still in print and very affordable.
The last time I went to go pick up the 4th edition book for this show from our local game store, they had sold it. So,
yes.
It is still out there. It's still available.
Because I'm stuck in 3rd edition.
Always. So we've got... I
love it.
So as far as additional materials, let's see. Gurps does not have any dedicated apps, but there are digital tools like character generators. Gurps has inspired various source books, novels, and comics, but it doesn't have any dedicated comic series. So it's not like where we saw with Pathfinder and things like that.
There's a lot, to me, a lot of merchandising opportunity is missed, and I don't know why.
Partly been because it's like you said at the beginning. These systems allow you to come into the system and build your own world setting.
Yeah.
So I don't have a Captain America or a Spider-Man to throw at you, but I do have a really good set of rules, and then you can go and play in the sandbox and develop a cool system, a cool game world.
So going back to the core rules, I want to talk just real briefly about your characters, because I want to get into the nuts and bolts just a little bit. Not going to go too far, so don't let me turn the page here.
Okay, don't.
So your characters in GURPS have 4 basic attributes, physical attributes. There's strength, dexterity, intelligence, and health. There you go. So, and then you have scores that determine several secondary characteristics, such as your hit points, your will, your perception, and fatigue. And GURPS, so a lot of, when they go to generate a character, they use point buy. So you have so many points, and depending on your character, you get so many points, and then you spend those points to build up your skill list. GURPS runs by skills and not a level like we have in D&D. I think Star Wars does that too, where you have skills that improve as your character progresses.
In Saga Edition, they tied skills to your character level. GURPS, I believe, is considered levelless, as far as the classless levelless system. It's a little more amorphous. It is a D20 based system, so you still need your full set of polyhedrals, but you don't have exactly the same score values that you might see on a Dungeons and Dragons character. But for its focus, right? Strength, dexterity, intelligence, and health means that you can take those 4 dimensions across any setting, and you're going to find an analog there. So it makes it very easy to be able to not only grab a source book for GURPS and start playing, but to start to mix and match. If you want cowboys versus space monsters,
you can do it.
You can do it. In fact, over here, Savage Worlds did that too. Kabam! We'll get to that in a little bit. But it's totally possible because it doesn't try to put too much detail where you don't need it.
Yeah, it has a lot of the structure, and the structure gives a lot of guidance in the way the stuff is written. So it's like, oh, if you want to do this, try that.
That was one of the things that you'll find too in the GURPS books is a lot of the, here's how this works. But if you want to expand on it or change on it, here's our 2 or 3 suggestions on how that might be handled. We saw this with Magic when we were reviewing this earlier.
Yes.
You might have a prerequisite here or there, or you could do this point system or this, or reference in that other book. You're like, and that's all just in the section in the book itself. So it was very cool to be able to have that, have those explanations, that guidance right in the source material.
When I was looking at the spells we were talking earlier before we came on. So to cast Fireball, they do have a version of Fireball, and it does a little bit. The difference is basically the damage and area effect and all that, because GURPS looks at those numbers in a different way. But in order to cast Fireball, which is a
mid-tier spell,
it's up there, you have prerequisite spells that you have to have already done, such as create fire. You can't, because in their logic, you can't cast Fireball unless you can actually create fire. Then there's another spell, which is control fire, which we might call burning hands. So you have to be able to make fire, control fire, before you can blow up the town. Which makes sense. And they do that with a lot of their spells. They have prerequisites. So if you look at you'll see that they don't have anything in levels. There's no levels.
For sure. And as a skill-based system, you'll see that a lot with other skills too.
Yes.
So you'll have like computer programming before you have hacking DARPA and firing nuclear missiles.
Well, they want to hack DARPA. Everybody wants to hack DARPA.
You know what? You don't end up playing tic-tac-toe with the computer until you've had a little bit of programming classes in high school.
True.
So, thank you, Matthew Broderick. Minimum materials required to play. Really easy for this one. Players typically just need the basic set. So the 4th edition is broken into, they've got basic set, and then like a character's book and stuff.
So the thing that what we also talk about in these systems is what is the minimum thing needed to play? This book is the minimum thing needed to play.
Well, and for 3rd edition, for 4th edition, they got basic set, which is a core rules, and has also the character creation information. But the game master would need to branch out and find additional supplements and source books for running the campaigns in specific genres, like Cyberpunk, like Star Trek, like any of the things that we'll see in GURPS.
Sure, because that's going to have equipment, it's going to have spells, it's going to have other additional skills that your players might need to survive the environment.
Or not.
Or not.
So,
how to write a wheel.
Yeah, but the basic set book will get you where you need to go. They've got a character book that expands character options. It's another book. They're all, you know, written in this style where you've got fairly word dense. Not that they lack pictures, but you've got a ton of information, and they're a couple hundred pages. So when you pay for them, you get your value out of them, and really a nice set of books. Any of the editions, but fourth edition is really quite nice.
I do want to mention just real quickly, the art style of Gurps is very distinguishable. If you see the artwork, I don't know if I want to say retro, but it has that
got
older
that pop
kind of
sci-fi.
Yeah, it's got a 1950s, 60s sci-fi kind of feel.
You can feel its influences. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you see it, so it definitely stands out. It's very distinctive, just like D&D 5e is a very distinctive art style. When you start seeing GURPS, it has an art style, and so it carries forward through all those books, and it keeps a very even flow.
Yeah, it makes everything feel the same and right in place.
Yeah. So if you haven't tried GURPS or you haven't heard of GURPS, I suggest you can check it out. I know it's been a while, but there was a lot of people were upset when not TSR, Wizards of the Coast was having trouble with some of their licensing thing, and a lot of players were really upset, and they're like, "Oh, screw them! We're gonna go play something else. We're done with them. We're gonna go something else." GURPS was one of the ones that people went to, and so was Savage Worlds.
Yeah,
Savage Worlds saw a huge intake of
new
popularity
yeah.
when all that was going on. Both of these did. I think Savage Worlds came out on top, though.
Just a little bit.
I think it kind of crosses better from a D&D player's perspective, but
it's a little easier to pick up. Again, GURPS's technical nature means there's a few more details to hammer out.
Yeah.
And that cinematic style has a definite appeal from Savage Worlds.
Yeah, it's definitely a different kind of feel, different kind of presentation.
So here we go.
I don't want to get too deep into all the nuts and bolts of GURPS because...
Well, let me start here. So
I want to make a character.
As far as location goes, GURPS can be set in any location imaginable. So we're talking about fantastical realms, futuristic worlds, anything in between, steampunk, whatever you want. GURPS doesn't care what your theme or setting is. It's simply a set of rules that help you structure all of that story that you're going to be putting together.
Yeah, and there are source books for the different world settings. Basically are for more equipment, more spells, more skills, and things that apply only in that world setting. You know,
sure. So yeah, when you go into get a fantasy, there might be some basic spell ideas or things in the core book, but just like in Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms, those source books open up more spell options and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So.
But they're world setting books. Like if you're playing Cyberpunk or out in space, they just call it space.
Yeah.
So you got spaceships, you got blasters, you got gravity boots, all those kinds of things. But those aren't going to be in any of the other settings.
No.
So the source books kind of break down equipment, spells, skills.
Just as you expect them to, yeah.
Right.
So we'll bring this one on back.
Yay, GURPS!
Yay, GURPS!
I like GURPS. I was introduced to it as a player many years ago. And we had this one guy that was in our group that was like the oddball. Not a difficult player, but he was just, 10 degrees off plumb. And he would show up with different things. And he brought a character that he made in GURPS that was a 6-foot-tall hamster. And we didn't know really what to expect.
And that was before Spelljammer had
That was before before Spelljammer. And he played that 6-foot-tall hamster, and all of us had a enjoyable evening just laughing at the stuff that he was doing as a hamster, because we were like, this is exactly what a hamster would do. We were in a room and a monster came out, and he's this hamster. He got scared and tried to get behind some furniture in the room. Well, he's 6 foot tall. He's way too big. So in trying to get behind the furniture, he knocked it over, which attracted the attention of the monster. But he was a 6 foot tall hamster.
Nice.
So, but anyway.
So as we deal with GURPS, run through a little bit this time period. Also flexible, as you might imagine with a system like that. Depends entirely on the setting that's chosen. GURPS also allows for settings where magic and technology can coexist, or where one or the other doesn't exist at all. Again, very setting dependent, but it allows you that flexibility as a game master to go in and really explore those sorts of settings if you'd like. As far as actually playing the game, we've got your standard polyhedrals 6, 8, 10, and 12 with character modifiers. You're going to have a lot of different attributes. Troy, we talked a little bit about those before, right? That was strength, dex, intelligence, and health. An extensive skill system, and character generation you talked a little bit about earlier is a point allocation system. So it allows a lot of yes, well, it allows a lot of customization, which is one of the things that I still kind of struggle with in 5th edition, having played in 3rd for D&D. Too many options in 3rd edition D&D. I feel a little restricted, but you don't have that issue here with GURPS because it's that point by skills based system that's got a lot of character creation. So you and I can both play pirates, both sort of have the same sort of slant to our characters, but they are different characters at the end of the day.
They'll be very different characters.
Yeah.
Because the skill list that you choose is going to be different than the skill list I choose. The equipment that you choose is going to be different than what I choose. And so although they're both technically in that same class, they're going to be completely different.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that makes playing GURPS, I think, a lot of fun is you end up with unique characters every time.
Character customization is the only way to describe their whole system.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's levelless and classless, and it's just by skill points. You know, you go through there, and you're like, what kind of character am I going to make?
You're like, well, I want to use a sword, but I'm also a monkey man, so I could probably use like 3 swords at a time. And you're like, okay, this is all. Do you have the skill points for it?
Some of it reminds me of way back to the white box in '77, because you had a fighting man.
Oh yeah, it was very basic. Fighting man.
You had a dwarf. That was the class.
Yeah.
You had an elf. That was the class.
This is a class.
So
a magic user.
The skills are very directed at that.
Yeah.
And that's what you're making. That's what you're playing. So you had to get skills, which are very difficult to come through at that time, to build your character up, to progress, and to do things. So they have with just this, and there's others out there that have just a skill list, and I like them because they allow customization. And when you're at the party and you got 5 people sitting around the table, and you start checking, what kind of character do you have? What kind of character do you have? I said, well, I got this guy. I can do this, I can do that, I can do everything. Instead of, I got a fighter barbarian, I got a cleric, I got a druid, I got a rogue. And sometimes those terms restrict your character.
It puts you in a box.
Because you can do this, and you can have these skills, and that's it.
Yeah.
But systems like this, like, they have books of skills. Which do you want? As long as you earn the points, you can build them, and you can make that character do pretty much anything.
As is typical of Steve Jackson games, these are very easy to read. Here, there's an example of skill selection. Let's go back to Die Blackthorn, the character we started to create on page 14. We already determined his basic attributes, his advantages and disadvantages. All that's left is to select skills suitable for a quick, bright, overconfident little thief. I mean, it's just straightforward, and it talks to you. It's not dry. It's not academic. They run you right through the system. The examples in all of the Steve Jackson games, whether it's GURPS or the aforementioned Munchkin series, when you're trying to figure out how the board games played together, is always really very easy to get into. So it's not one that you've got to worry about being obnoxious, just because I've described it as a little bit more technical as compared to Savage Worlds. It's not a calculus book.
You get the sense that the people that actually wrote it had a sense of humor while they were writing it.
They were self-aware, for sure. Yeah, very self-aware.
It's not a stuffy hardback book for $50, and we know what game you're going to play.
For sure.
We're going to tell you.
A few other things here with character generation in GURPS involves allocating points to attributes, skills, advantages, and disadvantages, allowing for a highly customizable character with diverse backgrounds and abilities.
Yep.
Sold. GURPS' combat is detailed and tactical, with rules covering actions where you get attacking, defending, movement, special maneuvers. It emphasizes realism and simulation while providing flexibility for cinematic action. So that's the real descriptor there, the flexibility for cinematic action. We'll see this as we talk about Savage Worlds here momentarily. Savage Worlds likes that loose, fast, cinematic, epic feel. And you're going to get a little bit less of that in GURPS. It tends to bend towards the realism.
Yes, they definitely want some realism. In fact, I'm hesitant to read the examples that I have.
Some of them are a little tight.
A little rules lawyery.
Yep.
So they could definitely get into the, but there again, it's you as the game master, how strict do you want to be with the rules, which goes with any game.
Yeah.
You know,
just like when we talked about G.I. Joe and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you can nitpick it, but you're playing G.I. Joe. Come on.
Right.
So
versus My Little Pony.
versus My Little Pony.
What was the one we found out this weekend that they may be joining?
Oh, what was that? Oh, I'll have to go back to it.
Oh, I can't remember.
It was exciting. It was dumb.
It was, yes.
It's gonna be fun. Let's see. So, GURPS combat's detailed and tactical. I think I read that already. Storytelling. So, GURPS encourages collaborative storytelling between the game master and the players, with a focus on immersive world building and character-driven narratives. I think that's really where GURPS shines as a system that you can put any theme or setting on top of. That's where they want you to focus. That's where they give you a lot of information as a game master, and where their guidance is oriented. Come in, tell your stories, build the system, build the world, build the themes.
The basic box or the basic book definitely talks to the game master about building your world. Yes, they have books that describe, cyberpunk or medieval or space, and you can put your world in any one of those spaces, but you're still going to have to actually do the work and make a map and name the countries and develop all the major NPCs.
Well, the cool thing too is with all the source books, you have a ton of information to borrow from that's already in line with the rules.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to go and put together something that's a little bit more along the lines of Altered Carbon, while they do have a game system, if you wanted something that was inspired by, you could grab the cyberpunk rules and maybe some of the modern combat stuff, and those will give you plenty of resources to start drawing inspiration as you write your setting and begin to tell your stories.
Or if you want to look like a game master that is just really cool, and you come up with all these great stories and bad guys to kill and scenarios one after another. So you get all the GURPS books, and that's where you get all your ideas. And then you just convert them into D&D mechanics, and you have a great night, and everybody sitting at your table goes, wow, where'd you come up with all this? It's out of the top of my head. Yeah. GURPS is a wonderful system.
Especially in the hobby of role-playing games where we've talked about before, and we give the advice of, go out, find your inspirations. Anything that you like can inspire your stories. Borrow from everything. I borrow from GURPS. You did a lot, but it could be thematic elements, characters, NPCs, storylines, any number of things. And GURPS as a system that has a lot of settings, it really allows you to expand your creativity, mix and match, and really come up with something that's unique and your own.
I'd also suggest any of you out there that are kind of going, wow, it sounds kind of neat. A lot of your local game stores are going to have these books sitting on a shelf. Hopefully they're in the lending library. Hopefully your game store has a lending library. Or maybe you can just go there and talk to the people and say, is anybody playing GURPS in this store? When are they doing that? I want to come by and just watch and hang out a little bit.
You could pour a Troy and go to your local Barnes & Noble and crack open the Planescape box set.
Well,
the GURPS, yeah. Same idea.
Same idea. Yeah, just go to a bookstore, get it off the shelf, and start reading it. And if you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, put it back on the shelf. Now, I'm not telling you that. Over
at Steve Jackson Games, sjgames.com, they do have a 32-page rule primer PDF that you can download for free.
Free downloader.
They also have several adventures and other resources that you could check out as well, right off of their official website for this system, to kind of give you a little bit more idea of hands-on what this system's all about. What kind of adventures or opportunities it presents for you.
SteveJacksonGames.com?
Yeah, SJ Games.
SJGames.com. That's SJGames.com.
Yep.
He's looking at it right now.
No, you're looking at it.
No, that. Hey, where'd he go?
It's that guy. Anyway,
Yeah, that's that guy.
so couple things here with character advancement. Advancing through experience points is a mechanic we're familiar with. Earned from role playing and accomplishing goals, which can be used to improve attributes, skills, or acquire new abilities.
Right. Your experience points translate into character points, and you use those to improve your skills or get new skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a system that works. It does.
And as a final note, before we move out of here, character death is possible in GURPS.
It is.
Like pretty fairly possible. It's not as bad as like White Box. You're not going to have to come to the table with 4 characters and then go through 3 of them before you get to the pizza break.
Yeah.
But the system offers options for handling injuries, incapacitation, and resurrection depending on the preferences of the players. Yep. It can also vary by game setting. So
it also
if you're in fantasy, we got resurrection. If you're in sci-fi, you might be a clone.
it also has that mechanic that Gwydion likes to use a lot, where you have stun points. So if I can actually use a weapon that's designed to stun, as opposed to kill. Mm-hmm. And it gets complicated a little bit, but if you hit a certain threshold, I can knock you out and take you prisoner as opposed to just killing you.
Right, and that's one of the things that's cool is you can go unarmed and capture without having to use lethal force all the time. Again, that is part of the array of character options you have that is really cool about GURPS.
Yeah. Yay!
Yay!
Go check it out. So, GURPS rules.
Now, also, we talked a little bit about. I'm going to bring out the book that started it all here before we get into it. Otherwise, I think Quinn will come through the computer and punch me in the skull.
Is that the first one? Is that this one?
That is Deadlands.
Oh, Deadlands. Okay.
So Deadlands was the original setting.
It was.
And then they pulled the game system out of it like a zombie skeleton. And then that's how we got Savage Worlds.
So Deadlands was the game system as well as the world setting of Cowboys.
Let me see I forget what they called it. It's a specific thing, and then if I don't get it right, I'll also be punched in the skull.
Yeah.
Weird West is what it was. Not Wild West, but Weird West, where you combine
West
elements of the American Old West with supernatural horror and steampunk technology. So, Will Smith's movie Wild Wild West would be probably a Weird West.
Wiki yay.
Yep, giant mechanical steampunk spiders and things like that. But that's sort of where it all started, was with this setting. And then they broke it out into its own game system.
Hey, I have that book.
Yeah, you did have that book.
I have that book.
Yeah, you have that book.
Ours still in one piece. Quinn's worn his out.
Quinn, he travels with this. Yeah. I hope he's got another one by now. But just like GURPS, there are a ton of different expansion books, not just setting books. So what I've got here is the Fantasy Companion. So this is foretelling fantasy stories along the lines of what you'd find in Dungeons and Dragons. Then they also have superheroes. And so these are sort of rules expansions for those themes before you get into full-on settings. And one of the things that we found earlier that we laughed about a lot was Flash Gordon.
I don't know why he's laughing at Flash Gordon. He's an institutional hero. Yes. Queen did a whole soundtrack. Dolph Lundgren running around in hot pants, saving the world from Mongo.
Yeah, for sure. As we saw in our last episode, Pathfinder ended up with bringing their world setting to the game system of Savage Worlds. So even another major game system's world setting can be played here in Savage Worlds. We've got things like Rippers, which is more of your Victorian style horror. The Last Parsec, that just sounds cool. The picture is a lizard man. So he's a space lizard.
A space lizard. Okay.
Yeah, you have to have lizards when you're in space. It's a sci-fi thing.
It is, yeah.
But there are a huge number of them. Deadlands, Last Colony. So now we can go Weird West in space. If you didn't want to go any further with that. I did believe we were talking about stuff earlier.
You was talking about stuff?
Yeah, you're a cowboy shooting
stuff
aliens
and things.
So we've got Deadlands was 96, but we got Rippers, which is set in Victoria area, London. Rippers players against monsters and supernatural threats. So if you guys want to go out and do any of your Bloodborne stuff, there it is. 50 Fathoms. Players become heroes in a world covered mostly by the ocean, where islands of various sizes hold treasures, mysteries, and dangers. Deadlands Noir. Set in the 30s during the Great Depression, Deadlands Noir combines classic film noir with supernatural horror elements. Like we needed to be in the Dust Bowl with the Chupacabra.
So I'm seeing a reoccurring theme here because all these different settings end with and horror.
And horror. There is quite a bit more horror theme
Yeah.
in the Savage Worlds settings.
Because like Quinn would remind us, worlds are savage.
Oh man, they are for sure. So
Yeah.
we'll get a little bit into some of the details here. It's published by Pinnacle Entertainment Group, first published in 2003.
Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds.
Deadlands came in 96.
Yes, so Deadlands was published in 96, and then we've got actual Savage Worlds in 2003.
So their character creation, they as well use a point system to build your characters.
Yep, they've got digital tools like Savage Worlds Virtual Tabletop for online play. They also have some Foundry, so Foundry players, they have some settings or packages you can download for your Foundry, VTTs to bring in your Savage Worlds games. Inspired various settings and supplements, including comics like The Savage World of Conan by Dark Horse. And at a minimum, players need the Savage Worlds core rulebook, which is that book right over here. While Game Master might also find the Savage Worlds Game Master's Handbook helpful. Additionally, players typically need dice, character sheets, and any setting-specific supplements. So if you're playing fantasy, superheroes, Deadlands, it's also helpful for everybody to have those books on hand, as it changes a couple of the mechanics sometimes, but also adds those setting-specific options for your characters.
So if you're out there, then we're going to a game store. Savage Worlds is a little cheaper than the standard D&D 5e books, which are $50. Savage Worlds is $40, and the price may vary depending on your local situation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they all seem to be a little bit cheaper than most of the D&D stuff. I know for some people out there that can be the price break can keep you out of something.
Yeah. So Pinnacle Entertainment Group, or peginc.com, is where you can find all the Savage Worlds information, including all the different possible official settings. But like we talked about with GURPS, it is a core system that will accept any setting, theme, or story.
Yep.
Again, you can combine them too. So if you wanted superheroes fighting dragons, you take your fantasy supplement and your superhero supplement, and you kind of squish them together, and there you go. You're on your way. Lots of good times. The Savage Worlds can be set in any location imaginable, fantasy to futuristic worlds, and any time setting, time period can be anything. Like I mentioned again, so we can go full on Turok to, brains and computers, full digital soul experience.
So as we're getting to the characters a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they use points to build your character, and you have traits and skills and abilities. They do their skills a little bit different, where if you're lower level with that skill, you're going to use a die 4 for all your checks. Then you move up to die 6, die 8, die 10, die 12. And so you still have the same target number for doing something that is a difficulty rating, basically.
Yep.
You need a 12 to do this. Well, obviously, if my skill check for that task is on a die 4, I'm not even going to be able to do it. But that does make allocations for 2 or more people can combine a skill together to actually accomplish something. So it has a lot of
Taking the buttons.
Cooperative.
There's definitely that intermixing, that cooperative, that assistive, we saw in the Renegade system.
I remember, when I played with I didn't play. I watched because I was scared. When I watched Quinn and his buddies playing Savage Worlds, there is a lot of fly by the seat of your pants when they came to actually trying to do something that wasn't combat. Because, example, you have a locked door that you're trying to get through. Well, the guy's trying to pick the lock. Well, that fails. And so they were going to knock the door down. Well, take my strength, his strength, and combine it together, and we 1, 2, 3, kick the door down.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do that. In D&D, it becomes very convoluted when you're trying to do a combined task with multiple characters like that.
Yeah.
You just want to kick the door down. So like, well, how do you do that? Well, the DM's got to come up with something on the spot. They've actually taken stuff like that in consideration and tell the DM, when you're in a situation like that, try this. And their dice, the game to me seemed a little dice heavy, dice rolling a lot. But the different storylines really struck me because they were more, I don't want to say horror, at least not what they were playing.
Yeah.
Those nights that I was there. But it was very realistic. Whereas when you're playing D&D, it always has that, I'm out, it's a fantasy, and I'm going to save the day. And I know that this isn't really going to hurt me. It's like a giant simulator on Star Trek or something.
Yeah.
But Savage Worlds, you didn't get that. I mean, we were running around scared to death by a pack of wolves.
It's all Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah. It's yes, everything is a Tomb of Annihilation.
But that makes it more interesting because from the storytelling standpoint, from the theory of the system, they want that character cooperation within the stories. They don't want anybody, even if you're superheroes, to be the one player at the table that does everything.
Which can happen in D&D and in some other game systems as well.
Well, particularly when you get into some of their superpower supplements and you've got characters that can literally go punch the moon to death.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave the other player behind.
I only did that one time.
Just the once.
Just the once.
Stupid moon.
Stupid. He didn't do it again, did he?
No, he didn't.
He learned his lesson.
Yes, but it's really interesting that they leave the system open-ended enough because they know that they've got they have to allow for power scaling as low as, your regular sort of D&D, no magic campaigns. Everyone's got a sword, kind of fight it out, all the way to punching the moon to death as a superhero potentially. It makes the system really flexible, but running the system can be a little funky sometimes from the game master's position, where you have to sort of make a call on the fly.
Yeah. I was impressed by the guys that are both running and playing the game, because there was a lot of, well, I want to do this now, I want to do that now, and I'm thinking, how are you gonna do that? And when we just say, okay, I need you to make this kind of check or that kind of check, or he would ask them, how are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? Tell me exactly what you want to do.
Describe it a
little bit better. And I was like, okay, let's see what they got going. And it was the whole thing of running from the wolves in the snow. Yeah. It was like in Alaska somewhere. I was like, so we don't have guns, we don't have swords, we didn't even have sticks.
I think that was their post-apocalyptic campaign. That one was pretty dark.
It was very dark. It was very dark. We damn near froze to death trying to get to another outpost. And when we got there at that outpost, everybody was dead. Yeah. And the door was locked.
Don't let these stories color your perceptions too harshly. Quinn does like a bit of a spicier game than most. Yeah. So not all of Savage Worlds is out there to simply just kill your players and make it for a bad time.
Yeah, I wish he was here, but unfortunately he wasn't able to join us for our Savage Worlds. So I'm sure if he ever sees this, he's going to tear us apart because we can't do the system justice like he could.
For sure. So when it comes to your characters, though, descriptions are fairly straightforward. You've got attributes, then you select skills are kind of interesting because you have what do we got? Traits, hindrances, and edges is how they refer to them. Yeah. And so you have to take a negative to be able to get a positive. Yeah. And some of these can be pretty straightforward. You've got major and minor, and that gives you more or less points, right? 1 point for a minor, 2 points for a major. And you start to see where I can take these hindrances, I can get these extra points, and now I go and tailor my skill set and things of this nature.
So basically, when you're building a character in Savage Worlds, you are not building a superhero. You are not building the best, the strongest of anything.
No.
Because every character that comes into that system, born into that system, is the average guy that has a difficult and bad day from time to time.
Sometimes. But there's a lot of things. One of the things I thought was neat was here in the core rulebook, where they talk about, or they're included character races.
Oh yeah.
Starts with androids.
Yeah.
So even
different world systems are different different places. So
and they got avians, people that can fly, and aquatics, people that are sea people. We got here
people all the time.
Dwarves, elves, and so forth. They've got saurians. So even in the core rulebook, there's a neat mix of possibilities. beyond what you would be able to get access to in the specific settings. And the art too is just really nice. Hey, I recognize that guy. I probably get. Yep. See, now they've added centaurs to the original. So here in the Fantasy Companion, we've now got centaurs as a playable option. Elemental scions, dragon folk instead of just saurians. Fairies, gnomes, graveborn. That sounds like good times.
Graveborn.
Mysterious and rare graveborn, sometimes called damp fires. The offspring of a living parent and a vampire.
Oh,
Oh, and goblins. There we go. We can be a goblin.
I'd rather be a goblin
I think I'd rather be a goblin too.
than a half vampire.
So, Savage Worlds can be set in any location imaginable, from fantasy realms to futuristic worlds. Common thematic elements include adventure, exploration, combat, and heroism. Savage World settings can range from gritty and realistic to pulp action and high fantasy. And so you got to remember, based on the setting, Deadlands is going to be a bit more gritty. Superhero is going to be a little bit more pulpy, typically.
Pulpy?
Yeah,
Pulpy?
just like the bad guy.
Pulpy?
You punch him up. Anyway, Savage Worlds allows for settings where magic and technology exist, and the balance between the two can vary greatly. So,
They also have a very unique way that they run the game.
yeah, the
initiatives.
So we'll deal with this in just a sec. We'll get so their dice are 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12, and they have a unique wild die mechanic. They also have exploding dice, which is kind of cool. When you max out your skill check, you get to roll the next die higher. Skills are your character's trained ability and cover a wide range of actions. And that's going to be like shooting, fighting, persuasion, driving, where your supernatural powers and abilities are also available. And your character generation involves distributing points among attribute skills and choosing edges and hindrances to define the character's capability and personality. But
Initiatives.
There you go, Troy. Let me break this out here. I've got it. This was probably one of the most unique things, and when sorry, Quinn, you ran through it really fast the 2 times you showed it to us, and I still couldn't get a hold of it. But they use a deck of playing cards, and they refer to it in this interesting way. They call them action cards. The action in Savage Worlds is fast and furious, to help the game master keep track of who goes in what order and to add a little randomness to the game. Use a single deck of playing cards with both jokers left in. These are called action cards. The GM can deal cards face up or face down. So you might also deal the player's cards face up and the villain's cards face down to increase the player's tension. So you got those mixed up over there yet?
I'm not very good at this.
All right, come on. Deal me a 21. Black.
See, I told you, I can't. And they're slick. They're like brand new, like they got goblin snot on them or something.
Nice. So at the start of each round, you will deal each wild card a single action card, plus any extra cards for edges. Allies under a player's control act on his actions card. It's already getting a little muddy. So if you have an NPC that is your follower, they go on your action. They go on your turn, so you don't have to send out an extra card for them. Extras such as, and so extras is what they call all their monsters and bad guys and things, because they're not the heroes. So they are the extras.
Words mean things.
Extras such as all zombies, wolves, and so on should usually share an action card, so they act in the same time. So you want one card for the bad guys. You may have a card for the main villain, or if you've got multiple types of monsters, you may want to deal them a card as well. Not unlike rolling initiative separately for them.
Right.
This makes them much easier to manage. Yes, she can also group wild cards with their minions if she wants. The goal is to do whatever makes running the battle as quick and as easy as possible. So even there, you can see that they have quite a bit of flexibility just in the way that you would hand these out and run the initiative. Let's see. Once the cards are dealt and you've managed all that, the game master starts the round by counting down from ace to 2. With each group resolving its actions when the cards come up. So you go, anyone with an ace? Nope, a 10. So ace, king, queen, jack, 10. You get down there. So then the 10s would go. In the event of a tie, ties are resolved by suit order, spades, hearts, diamonds, and finally clubs. So if you and I were both to have a 10, if you had the 10 of spades, you would go before my 10 of hearts.
Right.
Jokers, characters with a joker, act whenever they want, even interrupting another's action. They also add +2 to all traits and damage rolls this round. So the joker ends up being kind of an interesting way that you'll end up with a bit of chaos in your game.
Because he's the joker.
For sure. But I really thought this mechanic of handing cards out was kind of neat. It does smooth the game along a little more quickly than roll a die, add a number, put it all into a list, particularly in larger combats. You can go, what do I got? 4 players, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I got a couple bad guys, 6 cards, and then we go, order, done.
I kind of like it. It breaks up the action, and everybody's got to stop for a minute and do this. Yeah. But now Pathfinder also has a deck of cards for when you fumble, when you attack.
Those are great dynamic changes. This is interesting because this is the prescribed initiative mechanic for this game system. It is.
This is how you do initiative in
Savage World. No matter the setting.
By the book.
So it's kind of interesting, and then you'll get edges or hindrances that can affect your turn order or the number of cards that you'll take for initiative. So that one is, yes. But if you want a character that goes first, maybe you get an extra card, giving you a better chance to have a higher number.
Yeah.
Certain things like that.
So you would say an advantage and disadvantage. If I have an advantage on my
initiative, you might end up with a second card.
Have 2 cards.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I got a joker.
Heck yeah.
And just like the song says, yeah, I'm going to go first.
So Savage World is unique in a lot of different ways. The way that they handle dice is really kind of cool. It's different than what we even saw from Renegade games, where they've got a sliding dice scale. In this system, if you roll the max on your skill check, you move up to the next die total. And if you max that die, you move up again and again. It's called exploding dice. It's very cool, and you can crit your action out really fast that way.
Blow it up.
Just blow it up, especially if you've got a nuke from space.
Space.
So we did all that. Savage Worlds uses a simple yet dynamic system for combat. You've got initiative based on a deck of cards, opposed rolls, and then damage that scales based on the success of the attack. So if I were attacking Troy, in this system, I will deal more damage the greater I defeat his defenses. But Troy's defenses are also active, so rather than I have to meet or exceed your armor class to hit you, you've got certain things that you could do, particularly when you get with edges and talents of things of that nature, to make you more wily. You'll take less damage. You'll be able to rebound from that damage. And they have different damage types as well. So it can really add a lot of dynamicism and depth to your combat. Yep. And then we've got, this was the other one here I want to focus on, storytelling. Because that's one of the things that both these systems do really well, but approach a little bit differently. Savage Worlds encourages collaborative storytelling between the game master and players with a focus on fast-paced action and cinematic moments, which was a little bit different from Gurps, where I had collaborative storytelling between the game master and players with a focus on immersive world building and character-driven narratives.
World building?
Yes, that was Gurps, was world building and character-driven narratives, where on the Savage World side, fast-paced action and cinematic moments.
Okay.
So, as we spoke earlier, if you've got a world setting you're designing, some stories that you want to tell, and you're looking for a game system to call home, if you want something that's going to be a little bit more immersive and character-driven, Gurps. If you want those big epic moments, fast-paced action, Savage Worlds is going to fit with that story a lot better.
I would say it was definitely fast-paced action.
It was fast. Did it have Kung Fu grip?
I don't know about the Kung Fu grip, but we didn't stop. They didn't stop. It was go, 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 go. It wasn't even time to freeze to death. I mean, we had to get someone.
No one has time to freeze to death in Savage Worlds.
No, they don't.
Character death is possible. The system offers various options for dealing with it, including the possibility of incapacitation. And then this is the one that I really like here, dramatic last stands.
Yeah.
So you may be out of hit points, But if you're gonna make the last stand and your party is escaping, you're the guy at the landing zone that's holding off the ravenous attacking monster horde, and you're doing hand-to-hand combat, but it lets your party escape onto the helicopter. They've got ways that you can do that, and there's certain edges and hindrances that kick in only when you're at low health. The berserker raids, the barbarian stuff, all those aspects, all those sort of character archetypes are available within the system, but because they have the goal of these cinematic moments, they also have certain things when you're low health or no health for being able to go past your 0 hit point, make these last stands, all sorts of cool stuff that's written right into the combat rules that play into the storytelling. And it's really cool. It's one of the things I think that sets Savage Worlds apart. Old D&D was you hit 0, you're dead. New D&D, you're down, and you get some death saves, and we kind of not worry about it. In Savage Worlds, when the action is boilerplate, it's everything's up on fire. Characters might die, but it's always important. The moments are always interesting. You don't just go, "Oh no, Steve died."
Yeah.
You go, "Oh no," and you're like, "I've got the rock." It's just a lot more fun in Savage Worlds. The last stands in particular were really kind of neat. And Troy, you've seen how that plays out, and so it really is more. Tell me what you want to do. How do you want to do it? Describe that to me.
That's
more.
Exactly.
But that's more the way that it's played instead of, I want to search for that, make a roll. I want
to pick his pocket, make a roll. I want to climb the wall, make a roll.
Just having a hard time describing it because it is such a different table to sit at a Savage Worlds game.
Yeah.
Even as compared to Gurps. Gurps is more along what I would see in the older Dungeons and Dragons, right? Yeah. Very, very straightforward. You've got your rules and things. You've got particularly your immersive realism.
Yeah. And I'm really wishing that Quinn was here because he could spout it off perfectly and everybody would understand.
I don't think I've got like a leash big enough to hold him back.
Oh, no. No, don't do that. Just wind him up with Savage Worlds. Because he was perfect with the little spiel he would do about Savage Worlds. So like an infomercial.
We did have him go. But so Quinn, if you're out there, we love you, brother. This is a heck of a game system. And we only actually became aware of it because of Quinn.
Yeah.
And but we've seen it a few other times since then, and every time we've seen it, everyone that plays it enjoys it. Everyone, I think, the cool part about it, loves their character. They're always excited about their character and what they're getting ready to do next week. And I've always hear them discuss it from the standpoint of not just what my character does, but what we did, what the party did, what was the story everyone engaged in. It was really always very fun.
Yeah, definitely a lot. Definitely. I enjoyed it.
So, I think we've got just about.
And I would recommend it.
For sure. 100% on these. Troy, having played GURPS before, any notes for people that are looking to get into the system, things that they might want to keep in mind, or where they might want to choose one over the other?
Between GURPS and Savage Worlds?
Sure.
Wow. That'd be personal preference. If you're going to make a choice, I would go to your local game store and see if you can read them and see which one you think you like better.
Yeah.
I like GURPS, but I haven't done very much in Savage Worlds. I mean, I could.
One of the things that's cool about both of these systems, as you look at them, again, is that they are the core rules that will put everybody on the same page when it comes to how do I build a character? How do we handle combat? What are my skills like? And then you can go and you can pick up the Fantasy Companion, Cyberpunk, Deadlands, if you like those settings. And there's a lot to like about those settings. But these systems also allow you to come in and write your own game, put together your own world, and start to play in it and tell your stories.
They don't just allow it, they encourage it.
That's true.
So the core rule book is what the players use, and it's what the DM uses.
Yep. And then there was a Game Master's enhancement, or a second book for Savage Worlds that gets a little deeper into it. But the core book will get you started.
Absolutely, get you started. And it'll get you playing a little bit cheaper than D&D. And GURPS is a little bit cheaper than D&D. It just depends on where you're getting it.
Yep. Now GURPS, if I remember, is still printed in softback, which is one of the things that helps. I don't know that you'll find a hardback version for it.
No, as far as I'm aware, I've only ever seen GURPS stuff in softback.
So if you want to get some more information on Savage Worlds, it's PEGINC. That's Pinnacle Entertainment Group Incorporated.com. They publish Savage Worlds. You'll find all the information around their core books, their expansion settings. They do have character sheets and other online resources, like I mentioned, particularly for you folks out there running Foundry or other virtual tabletops. And if you want to dive into GURPS, check out the resources they have at sjgames.com/GURPS, and you'll be able to find more information on GURPS as a setting as well. Until then, though, I think this has been Through the Multiverse. With some of the most interesting systems. Oh, I almost forgot. I have a surprise third system.
A surprise third system.
There we go. Right before we get to the callback.
What's this all about?
This is the Fate system, and that is a tiny ant. There we go. Or maybe it's an uncle. The Fate system is interesting. It's also setting agnostic. But it uses D6, and it ranks everything on this same scale. So whether it's your attributes or skills, you've got terrible, poor, mediocre, average, fair, good, great, superb, fantastic, epic, and legendary. Wow. Now, I played a Star Wars game back when I was playing all the text-based mushes that used Fate as its game system. And it was pretty cool right until somebody shot you. Because you stack up damage really quickly, and so combat in this is very spicy.
Spicy?
Very spicy.
Meaning it tingles?
Yeah, death tingles. But because you have this scale and everything's D6s, it's all pretty straightforward. And then your positive and negatives cancel each other out for a total bonus to your die roll. Yeah. And so it's one of the other ones to look into. I don't want to get too deep into it because we've gone for a while now. But Fate is another system if you guys want something that's a little less dice heavy. D6s in the Fate system also allows for full customization of your theme, setting, world, location, all of that. It's another level-less, classless, skills-based system that you can put your world on top of. So check out Fate if you want something that's got a little less dice. But again, GURPS, Savage Worlds, fantastic.
Love them both.
Yep. Through the Multiverse, this has been Jester Borris.
I'm Troy, the Planescape Guy.
You can catch us over at our Discord. Don't forget to grab us at our .com, Facebook, and you are already seeing us on YouTube. Thank you for that. If you found this video helpful, be sure to share it around. Let other people know about what kind of cool systems are out there that they can play in as well.
I found this video helpful.
You did find this video helpful. Good job, Troy. Until next time, we will see you later. Now I have to push the button.
Push the button.
It's always bad when Mr. Producer's leave lots of hateful comments for Mr. Producer and tell him to get it back to work. That would help me out a lot.
Yeah.
So here we go. Next time. Button. Oh man.
You still can't hit the button?
Nope. Oh, and there's a